all. Thematically, I thought that justice was, at the top of the ladder for me. I really thought that Goodson was not only fighting for the guys in the street, but he was also fighting for his soul. He had connection to these men and women who come into his library on a daily basis. And if he were to push them out of the street, it'd be almost as if he was turning his back on himself as well as those individuals who he housed every single day. The structure is very well balanced. Initially we see Goodson with his own issues, and we're first introduced to all the characters in the library. And the second act, we kind of get the idea of how the cold weather is forcing them into the library, and the groundwork is laid for what each one of these people wants as the film progresses. In the second half, the midpoint of the film, the police, the mayor, the news reporter, librarian are all kind of scheming up different ways to end the standoff, which ultimately culminates with its climax. The buildup was done very, very well because you kind of see all these conflicting interests kind of collide at this nexus. I thought the closing could have been just a little bit longer, but you're left, knowing that I guess people are, going to be okay. I don't know. I don't know how. It's up for interpretation. I guess it's something that you have to watch, and that's where Estevez shines as a director. Now, he wrote this movie and he directed it, and he doesn't really have a huge resume as a director. I think, I don't know if he was trying to get another poignant point across like he did with Bobby, and this didn't quite catch the same magic, but it is a touching film kind of affecting all those who watch. Now, when you saw Bobby, you really understood what he was trying to say. But with this one, there was definite compassion. And I think that's what kind of sold these actors on the idea of yeah, I'm all in. Let's go ahead and do this. From a cinematography standpoint, nothing really was major. The film was kind of shot straightforward. There was, almost the entire film was shot in the library. And what worked in this movie was the emotionality. I thought that the movie pulls you into the plight of the homeless during the wintertime, and it does make you sit there and wonder about how you can help. I mean, hell, there were points where I was watching the movie where I thought about donating clothes and supplies myself. Where it fell short of expectations, I don't really know what he was trying to say in this. I mean, can anyone become homeless? Should we pay more attention to the homeless? Homeless people have a variety of needs. Never judge them, for you know not what they could possibly become. There are multiple messages. So I don't know what exactly he was trying to kind of put out there. To do it all over again, I probably would say pick one particular topical theme and kind of go with that. But each one of those characters touches on different kinds of questions. Now, the film is rated PG-13, language, no nudity, no real sex. And as far as the Aristotle index of the, unconvincing possibilities, and, I don't know there was anything that was there. I mean, there are points where you would wonder, why doesn't the police just do this? Or why doesn't the mayor just do that? But if they did, that would kind of end the movie. So you got to kind of play along with it. So, yeah, there are some, unconvincing possibilities, but it's okay because you want to suspend your disbelief and enjoy what you're watching. IMDb gave it a solid 6.6. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 65. The audience score, though, was relatively high. They rated it at 80% because it's a feel-good movie. You're supposed to enjoy yourself when this movie is over and done with. As far as the the cinema and cocktails rating, the running time for this movie is about 119 minutes, just long enough for you to have maybe 2 or 3 drinks. It's not bad. It's not great. It's kind of right in the middle. I thought the performances were good, but there was something missing, and I just couldn't quite put a finger on it. It felt good. I enjoyed the ride, but I just wasn't all the way fulfilled. So I guess it's because the thought that these fictional, I guess for me that the thought that these fictional characters would still be on the street kind of left me hollow, at least until some kind of permanent housing or solution would be found for them. So I don't know. It's just left a little bit hollow. Since this was a cold weather film, I decided that the best drink to have while you watch this film would be a warm alcoholic drink. Now, there's a whole bunch of different ways to go. apple cider margarita, Irish coffee, I decided to go with the quintessential, the classic, the hot toddy. Now, there's a whole bunch of different variations on how to make the hot toddy, but in actuality, it's really simple. Basically, what you want to do is get about 6 ounces of hot water, a tea bag, which can be optional sometimes, 2 ounces of whiskey, tablespoon of honey, teaspoon of lemon juice, and 1 lemon slice. Now, when you make it, you want to pour the hot water into a mug and steep the tea for about maybe 2 to 3 minutes. And then you remove the tea bag, add in the honey, the whiskey, the lemon juice, stir, and then, garnish with a lemon slice. Now, the key thing about making this drink is you want to make sure you have to kind of channel your inner mixologist. And you want to make sure that you follow the directions precisely. Okay. If you use too much whiskey or too much lemon or too much honey, it's going to throw off the balance of the drink. Now, if you like it strong or like it sweet or like it a little bit tart, that's up to your specifications. But you want to kind of keep the ingredients properly balanced. Otherwise, it's just going to, it's just not going to taste very good at all. But they're wonderful, slow sipping drinks, nightcaps. And this definitely the kind of, the kind of drink that you want to have when you're watching a movie like this. You get a blanket, you kind of curl up, and you appreciate and be thankful that, while the guys in the movie and the women in this movie are playing roles of individuals out in the cold in Cincinnati, the plight of the homeless is all too real. So, this is something that, as you're watching the film and you get a little bit buzzed, you kind of enjoy yourself and get a nice warm and fuzzy as the film comes to its conclusion. A consummate grifter is about to pull off his biggest con because he's indebted to a mob boss and his enforcer for stealing the wrong money. I know. You're like, what the hell? What is this about? That's exactly. Confidence is kind of convoluted until you watch it all the way to the end, and it all will make sense. All right. And that's what makes this film kind of cool. Like it's like you're looking at literally like a puzzle sitting on a table, and you're trying to put the pieces together to have it all make sense. And then once you kind of get it together, you're like, oh, now I know what I'm looking at. Another ensemble film, and this one has some pretty good actors and actresses in it, so let's go ahead and get into it. Ed Burns plays Jake Vig. Probably, man, Ed Burns has got to be the coolest FU guy in Hollywood. It's almost as if like he couldn't care less about. I think he enjoys his career, but I don't think he's really into the whole Hollywood stardom thing. I think he's happy just picking out a few roles here and there and then keeping his life quiet. I loved him when he was Mickey Fitzpatrick in She's the One. He was fantastic with that Brooklyn, New York jacket on when he was in Saving Private Ryan. And he was opposite, Thomas. He was opposite Alex Cross, when he played Thomas Kane. So, I mean, not Alex Cross. He's opposite Tyler Perry in the movie Alex Cross. But you get what I'm trying to say. Dustin Hoffman, Hollywood royalty, man. I mean, Hollywood royalty. We're talking Midnight Cowboy, All the President's Men, Marathon Man, Wag the Dog, Meet the Fockers, Outbreak. He got an Oscar for his role in Kramer versus Kramer, and when he played Raymond Babbitt in Rain Man. But I think most people will always remember him as Ben Braddock in The Graduate, and when he played Michael Dorsey in Tootsie. So those are like two iconic roles for good old Dustin Hoffman. Andy Garcia is in this movie with a staggering 103 credits to his name. I first saw Andy when he was the cool shooting Italian member of the Untouchables as George Stone. He played Ramirez in Stand and Deliver. He was Raymond Avila in Internal Affairs. I don't know how many of you all have seen Internal Affairs, but one of the coldest scenes in that movie was when he was chasing down Richard Gere and they got into a fight in the elevator. And Richard Gere basically whooped his tail and then like took out his wife's panties and like threw them on his face and told him to clean himself up. Oh man, that was just cold. Okay, but sorry, I digress. Things to do in Denver when you're dead, as Jimmy the Saint Tocina. He was a little bit better than Kristen Slater as Lucky Luciano in Hoodlum. But he's also known as Terry Benedict in Ocean's 11 and Ocean's 13. And I forgot that he was Stanley Locke in Smoking Aces. So this is another guy that kind of bounces around Hollywood and lands in certain roles. Rachel Weisz, the princess. Oh, man, she's fantastic. She plays Lily. She's got 57 credits to her name. I forgot that she was in The Mummy, opposite Brendan Fraser. Oof. Enemy at the Gates. Thought she was great as Marley in Runaway Jury. Oh, man. She was in The Constant Gardener as Tessa Quayle, The Lovely Bones, popped in and out of The Bourne Legacy. She was in The Favorite as Lady Sarah, and she will be popping up in the upcoming Black Widow movie as Melina Vostokov. So that's going to be interesting to see her opposite Scarlett Johansson. Morris Chestnut. Oh, another cool dude, man. Got to start in Out All Night, and he was in The Best Man as Lance Sullivan and the brothers Jackson Smith and Two Can Play the Game. Is it just me, or is like Morris Chestnut always playing the same dude, right? Just the cool black guy that happens to be slick with the ladies, but, does something that gets him in trouble, but then somehow he finds his moral center and is the one to kind of bring peace to a situation. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. He was in V as Ryan Nichols. Remember the real V? Like the one from like back in 1983? Like the real V? Not this Return of V, but like the real V? Oh, wow. I to this day, I still remember when, when that woman was supposed to have that baby. Man, you talk about a high-rated show for that one moment, but then it was like after she had the baby, like the ratings fell off because everybody thought it was stupid that aliens could impregnate human women. Anyway, Nurse Jackie, Legends. He was in Rosewood, the TV series as Dr. Beaumont Rosewood. But, we will always love and appreciate Morris Chestnut as Ricky when he was in Boys in the Hood, when he got shotgunned in the back running in slow motion away from Cuba Gooding Jr. Paul Giamatti plays Gordo, kind of like a meat potatoes guy movie in this one. I first saw Paul in Donnie Brasco as the FBI technician. He was also in Saving Private Ryan. He was in Negotiator, Planet of the Apes. But I mean, who knew? Because everybody was a monkey in those movies. Cinderella Man as Joe Gould. Played this interesting hotel motel manager, Cleveland Heap in Lady in the Water. Good old M. Night Shyamalan. The Ides of March, man, he was great as Tom Duffy. Played Jerry Heller in Straight Outta Compton. And I think right now that he's killing it as Chuck Rhodes in that TV series called Billions. He also was this tortured cartoon artist in American Splendor, Harvey Pekar. But for me, Paul Giamatti will always be Miles from the movie Sideways. Oh, man, he was just really identified with Miles in that one, man. Really identified with him. Luis Guzman has 154 credits to his name. A lot of bit roles that I can't even name. I mean, my God, this dude has been in everything. And it's like when you say his name, you're like not quite sure who he is. But when as soon as you see him, you're like, oh yeah, that guy. He also, kind of like Morris Chestnut, kind of plays like a similar role. He's always kind of like in this like sidekicky kind of role. But recently he's been inside of Shameless. He's been on Code Black. He was in Narcos. But I think the two real performances that shine for me was when he was in Traffic as Ray Castro, Don Cheadle's buddy, and in Carlito's Way when he was what's his name's best friend, John Leguizamo, old Benny Blanco from the Bronx. And man, when they capped Al Pacino at the end, oh, it was just heartbreaking. But I'm giving that one away because Carlito's Way is an old movie, so hey, deal with that one. Tommy Tiny Lister, has the most credits, 218. What?